Hello scholars, welcome to Unit 6. This is our first video. Unit 6 is about reproduction, and today we're going to talk about how organisms reproduce in general. Alright, make sure you get your notes out, and let's get started. So first things first, want to give you the basics. Alright, there's two types of reproduction, sexual and asexual. Let's make sure we understand the difference. We'll take each term, one slide each, then we'll put them together at the end. Let's start off with asexual. Right? This is the way that life originally reproduced. You had a cell, it made a copy of itself. You had a parent cell and an offspring, an identical copy. Right? So in asexual reproduction, A in Latin means not, so not sexual reproduction. This is where the offspring, the child, although we use that word child to refer to human offspring, where the offspring is genetically the same as the parent, has all the same DNA, has all the same traits, is essentially a clone of the parent. Okay, so we have one cell making an exact copy of itself. No changes unless there's possibly a mutation. Okay? But most of the time, asexual reproduction leads to an exact copy of that cell. Now, there are three different types of asexual reproduction. We're not going to go into detail on these. We're going to focus more on human reproduction in the unit, but I need you to understand the basics, foundation from where we came. We've got budding, okay, like in Hydra over here, where you get a little bud that pinches off and then becomes its own separate organism. All right, you have regeneration, like in some plants, okay, like spider plants and potatoes. They send out a runner, okay, and then that runner generates its own roots and its own leaves and becomes its own plant, still genetically identical to that parent plant. Or you can have unicellular organisms. Where's my mouse over here? I have one cell becoming two identical cells, which then become four identical cells. Okay, all the same number of genes, all exactly the same in every way. You go from one parent to one offspring. All right, and that one can become again and another and another, and they become clones of each other. Exactly the same in every way. That's asexual reproduction. Cool? All right. Little picture that helps you with your notes. Pause it if you need. We're going to move on. So then what is sexual reproduction? Right? Sexual reproduction means you have two different parents, okay, that create one offspring, which is genetically different from either parent. All right? So you have two parents. Where's my mouse? Where'd it go? There it is. Two different parents lead to the creation of one new offspring. Now you can have multiple children. I have three of my own. Okay? But in one reproductive event, we're creating an offspring. Can there be twins? Yes, that's an exception. We can talk about that in class. But each organism, even twins, all right, are a combination of their mom's DNA and their dad's DNA. All right? How does this happen? Well, each parent donates one complete set of their DNA. Now they have two copies of each gene. So they give one copy through a specialized sex cell. Right? You need to have specialized sex cells in order to sexually reproduce. Otherwise, the number of genes in the offspring would be twice that of the parent. And that's not good, okay? In terms of development, in terms of all sorts of things, too many genes leads to problems. So you need to have the exact same amount of DNA as either your parents. The only way to do that when they're both contributing is for each of them to give half, okay? And that's what sperm and eggs are. Sperm carry half of your dad's DNA, and egg carries half of your mom's DNA. When they fertilize each other, you get a new offspring. That offspring, once again, has two copies of each gene, just like the dad did, just like the mom did. That offspring, that child, got half of its DNA from its dad, half of its DNA from its mom. Cool? Now that offspring is different than either parent. Has some traits from mom, some traits from dad, but is not a clone of either one of them. Cool? All right, so here's the picture from the textbook. Let's take right here, the dad. Notice, the dad has half of his father's DNA and half of his mother's. He still has 8 genes. Granted, with hundreds of thousands of genes, we just made it simpler here. So it's 8 genes, just like his dad had 8 genes and his mom had 8 genes. But his mom gave half of her DNA, his dad gave half of his DNA, and he is a combination of one half of his dad, one half of his mom. Same is true for your mom, okay? Her mom had 8 genes, her dad had 8 genes. They each gave 4, or half, of their DNA, and that resulted in the mom. The mom still has 8 genes, just like her mom did, just like her dad did, but she's half of her mom, half of her dad. When she goes to make eggs, she's going to give half of her DNA, okay? Half of her half is a quarter of those genes are from the grandma. A quarter of those genes are from the grandpa. They're half of her genes, okay? And this egg is going to get fertilized by that sperm. The dad creates sperm, which are half the grandmother's genes, half the grandfather's genes, and they create a grandchild, you, all right? And you are one half of your dad's genes, one half of your mom's genes. Where did they get their genes? From your grandparents. So you have some traits from your grandfather, the orange ones, some from your grandmother, the purple ones, some from your maternal grandfather, the green ones, some from your maternal grandmother, the yellow ones. So these genes get passed on from one generation to the next generation to the third generation, and there's laws governing how these genes are inherited. We'll talk about that in the lab this unit. So, how do we use these two processes? How do we do asexual and sexual reproduction? Lots of people think that, oh, we reproduce sexually. Well, we do to create offspring, to create children, but we also do asexual reproduction. How? Well, when we're not creating offspring, we're asexually reproducing. You're asexually reproducing right now. Why? Because this is how we grow and this is how we repair ourselves. It's a process called mitosis. Different from budding and regeneration and binary fission and things like that we talked about on the first slide. Most of your cells, all of your cells in fact, except for the ones in your gonads, in your testes, or in a female, the ovaries, do mitosis. They reproduce asexually. They make clones of themselves. This is good. We want exact copies of ourselves. We want the exact same DNA in each of our cells. That makes us us. All those cells, except for your gonads, are diploid, meaning they have 2 copies of each gene. All right? One from your dad, one from your mom. And we read this DNA from those 2 copies of our genes to grow and to heal and to develop. Okay. Now, when we want to go to make a child, all right, then you need 2 individuals, and we create offspring sexually, right? The sperm and egg are specialized cells in the gonads, in your testes, female's ovaries, and that's created through a process called meiosis. Mitosis is asexual. Meiosis means sexual. Each of these haploid cells have half of your DNA. A normal human has 46 chromosomes. They have 23. One of each pair of your chromosomes. Now you need 2 individuals of the opposite gender. You need an egg to be fertilized by a sperm. And this is going to create a new individual. And that new individual is genetically different from their parents. So here it is kind of blown up. While you're an adult, once you're fertilized from the zygote stage forward, we'll talk about that in lesson 3, okay? You're growing and developing, and that happens through cell division and mitosis. When you are ready, okay, then you can produce a child by having the sperm, which has half the male DNA, and an egg produced by the ovary, which has half the female DNA. They fertilize each other, and these are haploid. They only have half the DNA. Notice, when they fertilize each other, the zygote has a full set of DNA. It's 2N, 2 copies of each gene. The moment you fertilize, through right now and the rest of your life, you are diploid. The only cells in you that are haploid are the sperm, or in a female, the egg. Okay? The egg and sperm are created by the process of meiosis. You grow and repair through mitosis. Cool? All right. So, quick recap. You need to know what is asexual reproduction, what is sexual reproduction, and how these two processes occur in humans. Chapter 26, Section 1, a little bit more information there. Goes into reproduction in other organisms. Page 684 to 687, see it in class.